Welcome back to another episode of the Who Is series. In this interview, we spent some time with Hillary Campbell, a mother of two, a woman of God, a child of God, a woman who has been through the guttermost, and now God has brought her to the uttermost. We listened to her story, and her story is riveting. It is thought-provoking. It is emotional. I tell you now, we both got emotional. Listen to this story that she gives, and it will hit you to the core. I present to you now, Hillary Campbell.
Who do you say you are?
I am a child of God. I'm rich in the Lord. The love of my life was fentanyl. And I sat in the Harrison Seventh-day Adventist Church parking lot and I smoked fentanyl off a tinfoil. All of my friends are dead from fentanyl overdose. I spent 14 years smelling like a cigarette, being around a bunch of dope heads. These people weren't bad people. Dope heads aren't bad people. That drugs change you. Drugs make you do the most for no reason. Drugs make you steal from your mama. Drugs will make you unplug your grandmother's life support so you can charge your phone so you can call the dope man. People say that the devil's not real, and I met him. He's real. I really liked fentanyl, you know, the drug I didn't know that I was doing, the drug that killed my best friend. Like, I liked it.
This is fentanyl, though. This is the killer drug that people are dying from.
Yes. Need it. Gotta wanna need to get a have a strong stuff. I like to get high. It was beyond my power to free myself from the hell that I was living in.
And you wanted to be free.
And I did want to be free.
All right. So, let us begin. So, who do you say you are?
I am a child of God.
Mm-hmm. Child of God.
Mm-hmm.
All right. If your life was a movie, what would be the title?
Well, a lot of times people base what movies they pick on the titles. It's something very intriguing. So when I tell this story and people ask, you know, what do you want the title of this to be? I always do like prostitute to prophet or junkie to Jesus, because as humans, we're kind of nosy. When you hear something like that, you're like, gosh, she did that. You want to hear more about it. So probably one of those.
Okay, so something that comes out that pops.
Yes.
Okay, got it. And what would you say, you know, prostitute to prophet? I mean, that's you know, that's an amazing title, and it is a click. You know, you have
Clickbait.
Right?
Yeah.
It's something that somebody would go prostitute to prophet. Is this person a prophet now? I mean, how do they, so tell us, give us a little bit about yourself, your name, and how you got to where you are. Where did you come from to this point from, as a child? Did you ever see yourself going from being a prostitute to a prophet? I mean, what was those steps that, that this title have brought you through?
Well, my childhood was good. My mom loved me. She married a guy who was pretty hateful and ugly towards me, but that's the only negative thing I can really say about my childhood. Yeah, my mom loved me so much, and she worked and she made sure that we had stuff, and it was good. It was just so standard, and I always stress that so much because a lot of the rehabs that I went to, before you left, they would want you to tell your story, just like what got you here and what did this do for you. And so many of these women and these girls and these ladies, they just had a terrible childhood. The stepdad molested them. The uncle and the brothers were raping them, and nobody would listen. Oh, don't say that about your brother. Just horrible, terrible things. And there's never an excuse to be a drug addict, but these ladies had the excuse. These ladies had, their lives had been so ungodly and so hateful and mean, and, in a situation like that, when you don't have Jesus, you want to numb it, you want to take it away, you want to distract yourself, reroute your
thinking.
Yeah. And the easiest way to do that is with mind-altering substances. And a lot of people think, marijuana, it grows and it's harmless. And, you can argue that all day. And God made it. It grows out of the ground. God didn't tell you to light it on fire. I'm not here to say what drug is better than the other drug. What I'm saying is any drug is mind-altering. Even cigarettes, they'll make you kind of jittery, and they alter your mind to think, oh, I need a cigarette. Just anything that's distraction worthy.
Anything that can pull you into a numb space.
Yes.
Right, where you don't feel nothing, you kind of try to get yourself away from the world. So is this something that at what age would you say you started to get into that? And first of all, we want to know where you're from. So where were you, where as a child, where did you grow up?
Chattanooga, Tennessee.
We lived Born and raised, okay.
We lived in a little neighborhood, not a bad neighborhood. It was mostly older people. But it wasn't a, go outside and play neighborhood, people walking up and down the road and just things like that. So not that was, make it or break it kind of thing, because you couldn't go outside. It was fine, but it wasn't the best part of town, if you will. But yeah, I'm Hillary from Chattanooga.
Hillary from Chattanooga.
Yeah, Hillary from Chattanooga.
So always been born and raised, Chat. Anything special that you can think about as a child that you can remember that was this is always going to stay with me forever?
My mom married a guy when I was young, and he, like I said, he was rough on me. He was he really liked to,
And when you say rough, what does that mean? Hard on you?
Yeah, he liked to tell me, you don't need to eat anymore. You're kind of heavy.
Oh, wow.
I was a kid. And he liked to, and it was never out of love. It wasn't like, hey, maybe you should slow down on eating a little bit. It was always hateful. He liked to be the boss, if you will. And
he's controlling.
Very controlling. And tank tops, you don't need to be showing your shoulders. Because it's 90 degrees outside. What do you mean? They couldn't be and like I said, it wasn't out of love. It was just out of, I'm the boss. No tank tops, no shorts that were short.
Above the knee. Way above the knee.
And they couldn't be low. And I was a kid. I wasn't like, oh, let me be sexy or anything.
But if he had done that in a loving way to tell you exactly why you shouldn't do it, because, he may be thinking he's doing the right thing in a way, but the way it came off was just terrible.
And I didn't get to go, and which is a good thing. Like, I won't let my kids go anywhere now, but there was like, it was a lot of staying at home. You bring friends here. And my mom, they were very strict.
Overprotective.
Very overprotective. And when I turned 18, I went crazy. Like,
Bird out of the cage.
yeah. And I'm not going to say any parenting is better. Like, kids are going to turn out the way they're going to turn out. You could be an absolute perfect A1 parent, and kids are going to do what they want to do.
That's right.
So I don't blame him or my mom. I've let it go, and I've forgiven him. But he was the overweight thing and the dressing thing. Like, nothing was in my control. Well, I developed an eating disorder from all the times he just told me that I was overweight, and I dropped a lot of weight as a teenager really fast. I was bulimic and or anorexic. Like, if I was forced to eat, then I would throw up, but I would just prefer to not eat. And I was passing out and stuff.
So it did affect you a lot.
It did, and it was, at that point, it was like a control thing. Like, you think I'm fat, I can fix that. And my mom divorced him, and that was over with, but that's still stuck. Like, body dysmorphia is a very real thing, because I can look at someone that a doctor will be like, they are obese, and I'm like, I think they're fine. But looking at myself in the mirror, I can just like tell you, like, oh, I can tell I put on a little weight. Like, even now, and I pray about it, and it's definitely something me and God together are working on. But when that's, been something you've been obsessed with for so long, it's hard. And I really feel for teenagers nowadays, because, the internet, everybody's perfect on the internet.
Instagram and TikTok and all that kind of stuff it's crazy.
And it's all fake.
Yeah.
Because I used to take pictures and sell them, and videos and stuff, like not appropriate videos, but that's how I made money when I wasn't prostituting, when I didn't feel like, it's just easier to do that, not have to meet somebody, because I just wasn't a huge fan of people, because even now that I'm not prostituting or doing anything like that, people always want something from you. And it's definitely how am I going to benefit from this, and what can you give me, and I understand, like, everyone's out for themselves, and so I stay to myself. But my mom divorced him, and we moved, and we were staying in another house, and she had gotten prescribed some kind of weight loss pills. And my mom is a saint of a person. She's an angel of a lady. She's the best. She's amazing. And she ended up not taking the pills, and I took some, and they were like meth is what I can compare them to. I was up all night that night. I wouldn't eat. My mouth was dry. Like, at the time, I didn't know. I couldn't have anything to compare it to. And I was like, well, I took too much. I didn't love that. But, like, that was definitely my first little introduction into, like, something heavier than marijuana. Like, I've smoked pot for the first time at a younger age, but I don't. I
Were you
think,
like in high school during that time?
No, I think I was like 13.
The pot one or the heavy?
The pot one.
Okay.
And no, it wasn't until after I turned 18 that I was like on real drugs. Like, I tried the little weight loss pills, and was just an upper, and I preferred downers. Once I, experimented with drugs, it was always downers. I don't want to be awake for a long time. Like, I want to dissociate and just be falling asleep on myself. I definitely don't want to be up thinking about stuff. But
yeah, I had an experience with an upper and a downer at the same time.
Speedballing, that's what the kids are
That's what
calling
they're calling it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what it was? I had a cup of black coffee, and I took a nighttime Tylenol.
How are you feeling?
Oh man.
It's a roller coaster.
It was. And I'm gonna tell you something. The reason why I didn't know that, because I used to get up at 4:30 in the morning to go to the gym, and I would go work out, and back then I would, have like a cup of black coffee. So because I'm waking up that early, and I want the energy, as I'm working out, I want the energy, so I can, I'm working out from 4:30 to 8:30 in the morning. So 4 hours, I'm pushing myself, right? And normally I'll get that little black coffee and go with it. But, when your body is sore from working out all the time, you take a Tylenol to kind of like, ease the pain a little bit. So I took what I thought in my bag was a regular Tylenol, not knowing it was a nighttime or sleepy time, whatever they call it, Tylenol. I took that, and then I had, my cup of black coffee, and man, I was on the basketball court, just kind of like in slow motion.
Mm-hmm. It's a ride.
and then I'm like zipping around, and all of a sudden I'm in slow motion again. I just kind of felt this wave going on inside my body, and I couldn't understand what was wrong with me. And then after about 4 hours, and I just dropped. I just went straight to sleep. But yeah, it was a crazy experience. But go ahead. I just wanted to share that with you.
Well, caffeine is crazy too. After I got sober, there's a coffee. It's called like Stoked or Stokers or something, and it was like extra energy. And I was drinking it, and I was cleaning and doing housework and stuff, and then like it hit me. I started to come down, and like my back started to hurt, and I was just kind of groggy, and I was like, this is like coming down from meth. Like not as extreme, of course, but like I don't even drink caffeine now. Like like a Coke or something. But as far as just like
coffee and
espressos and stuff like that feels too much like real drugs. Which that caffeine, nicotine, all of it is a drug, and anybody will tell you that. All the rehabs I've been to, they always give you information on that. Like when God set me free, He set me free. Like I stopped doing drugs, and then like a week later, I stopped smoking pot, and it was like a day or two later, I had like a little less than half a pack of cigarettes set by my door until I threw them away. Like I was just done. Like God set me free, and it was over with. Like anything that causes a head change is a drug, regardless if it's caffeine, nicotine, real drugs. It alters you.
So take us back. You 18 now. You kind of been through the situation with your stepdad. There's, of course, a direct effect on your life from what he said to you and how he treated you. Now that you 18, you're about to come out the cage, and you got introduced to a hard drug, meth. What was that like for you?
Well, a lot of it is like, it was a blur. It just happened so fast. But I thought I was having a great time. I started dancing at a bikini bar in Chattanooga. And for years and years, I felt fat and ugly and not pretty. And I started working there, and they're like, you got a great body. Oh, wow, you're so pretty. Like, and not all the people in there are bad people. And all of the people are drunks. Like I had very intelligent conversations with people in the strip club before. And I don't say that to glorify it at all. I'm just saying, like,
you have different kind of people you're going to meet.
Yeah, it felt nice to be told all those things, because for so long I never heard it. And when I was making myself throw up and passing out, my mom was like, why are you doing this to me? Like, she just made me feel bad about it. And, I couldn't be like, well, you stayed with this man who made me feel like crap about myself for years. Like, what do you want from me? Because I didn't want to hurt her feelings, because she was dealing, we're all dealing with stuff. She wasn't just like, I'm going to stay with this man because you're miserable and I love it. It wasn't anything like that. It's just, and there was good times. Like, he was funny sometimes. He was a really funny guy. But if somebody doesn't have Jesus, they can't treat you right. Like, rather it be a relationship, a parent, just a friend. Like, even with Jesus, sometimes it's hard to treat people correctly. It's hard to be nice. It's hard to not say something hurtful. Like, when someone says something hurtful to you, it's just a big mess. Like, everything that happens to someone as a child, no matter how small you may think it is, like, I feel like a lot of times it's the smaller stuff that leaves the biggest impact.
Yes.
And so I started dancing, and I was in a couple car accidents when I was younger, so my back always hurt. And I started taking hydros. Hydros are like this tiniest pain pill a doctor prescribes. It's like, it's nothing, but you will wake up dope sick. Like, if you take it long enough, you'll be sick without it. But and honestly, like, an ibuprofen kills the pain better than a hydro. Like, it's just the codeine in it will just end up making you sick. So I did that for a while, and everything stops working eventually. You just got to keep moving up and keep doing stronger stuff. And in a place like that, it's so easy to find whatever you're looking for. I mean, there was girls that came in there and they worked and they saved money and they put themselves through college and, never touched a drug. Like, they drink every now and then, but as far as, just being junkies, like, they were there to put themselves through college, and that's what they did, and they moved on. And that's not what I was there doing. I was there just to, well, at first, I was young, so just making money, like, I do what I want, I buy stuff, and then it very, very quickly turned into, that's how I supported my habit. And hydros led to Roxy's, and Roxy's led to oxymorphone and very expensive pills, and they led to heroin, and then, I don't even think heroin really exists anymore. Everything's fentanyl now. It was just a snowball effect. It all happened so quick. And just street drugs or doctor prescribed drugs, 2 or 3 days and you're hooked. The third or fourth day you wake up after you've done them, you're going to be sick. You are going to physically need that drug because your body has become dependent on it.
And it's really just that numbing feeling of that. Those are all downers. Mm-hmm. It has that numbing effect.
Absolutely.
Where you just don't feel nothing. Mm. Why would anybody want to go and put themselves is it a mindset that you just kind of like, I don't want to think about nothing. I don't want to deal with the weight of the world. I don't want to. Is that what that is?
It wasn't at first. Like I said, my back was hurting.
That's where it started.
That's where it started. I didn't want to I just want to get high every day for the rest of my life. Like, that's ended up what it was, but like, that wasn't what it was at first. Like, I was in pain. I'm working. I'm wearing these big heels. I'm walking around. It's a mess in here.
And no one knows your pain. No one knows what you're going through at all. I mean, you got folks looking at you, telling you how beautiful you are. Mm-hmm. But at this point, you're like, I'm in a lot of pain. I'm hurting, right? So, yeah.
And not just physical hurt, it's emotional hurt from the past. And it wasn't long at all before I started prostituting, because the oxymorphones, they were $40 and $60 a pill. And when you need 2 or 3 of those a day, and then you need cigarettes, and then you need gas, and food didn't really matter. That's, I had the eating disorder, and you don't want to kill your high. You don't want to spend $60 on a pill and then do it and then eat and then, it go away. So that went on for such a long time. And I got pregnant with my daughter. And I kind of didn't accept it for a long time. Like, people were like, we think you're pregnant. I'm like, no, I'm not. What are you even saying? Shut up. Ew, I'm not pregnant. And my drug dealer, one day, I showed up to buy a pill, and she's like, I'm not selling you anything until you pee on this stick. Yeah. And I was like, I'm not doing it. I was like, just sell me my pill. And she was like, I will give you a pill if you will just pee on this stick. And I did, and I was pregnant. And she gave me the pill, and she was like, you need to do something different. She was like,
give it to you still?
She did.
I mean, she kept her word, I guess. That's the way of keeping her word.
Well, I mean, if she wouldn't have, like, I was 6 months pregnant, and I'm not saying that this is okay.
6 months, wow.
But not taking the pill is just throwing me and the baby off. Like, the baby doesn't know that it's addicted. That's normal life for the baby to, feel that way. And when you take it away, then the baby's like, what is happening out there? Like, what is going on? Why do I feel like this? It doesn't know. So I'm not saying she did the right thing. I mean, if she wouldn't have, she really wanted to know. She was like, I know you're pregnant. And I was like, no, I'm not. And she was like, you need to try something different. She was like, there's doctors and this and that. And she wasn't a bad lady. Like, people always say, drug dealers are just the worst. Like, she wasn't selling anything that was killing people. It was just doctor prescribed pills. She was a nice lady. I'm not justifying what she was doing.
Right,
I'm not glorifying the drug game or anything like that.
She still had a good character. She was still
like, she cared enough. Like,
I mean, of course she did, because she paused you for a moment.
She went out and bought the pregnancy test herself and was like, I'm going to have this in my purse, so next time she comes over, she's going to take it. And that, because I was like, I just kept denying it. I was visibly pregnant. Like,
Oh, wow.
like
6 months, yeah.
But I kind of like got big overnight.
You're like in your second trimester.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, it was crazy.
Was it a lot of belly?
No, I mean, it really wasn't. Like, it kind of just, I'm telling you, it happened like overnight. Like, I was kind of, I mean, even walking into the hospital, I had this baby. If you were looking at me from the back, you couldn't even tell I was pregnant. I was so small. I started going to a doctor to get Subutex because she was like, you know, I'll sell them to you until you get into that doctor, because like it's just you and the baby are both just going to be miserable, and the baby, you know, its heart rate gets up and it's little and it doesn't know. And I got into the doctor, and like she would even help me because insurance wouldn't cover the Suboxone. That's what they write you. You wait 48 hours. Actually, no, it was Subutex, so you didn't even have to wait the 48 hours. Like you could take it and you just wouldn't be dope sick. And there was times where she would pay for the prescription for me, and like, I don't have it. I was like, and she, you know, she wasn't the worst lady ever. She was very kind. She paid for me to have the pills so I wouldn't go get other pills. I remember one time I called her and I was like, I want to buy something. And she's like, you're really pregnant and you can't do that. And think about it. And anyway, she wouldn't sell me anything. But, yeah, so I was on the Subutex and I was going to the doctor, high risk, and I was going every week. And I had done drugs for a long time. So like,
was the father was the baby, your daughter's father?
Yes. He's in prison right now, but not because, I mean, he's just an addict, not because he was out killing people or he's just a drug addict. But, and I hate it for him, but he was great. He was there for me every step of the way. After I had the baby, he would go to work all day and come home and let me go to sleep, and he'd watch the baby. You know, he was so good. He was so helpful. He went to jail and I really lost it. But to back up, I did the Suboxone, and I told the doctor, I was like, look, I'm still on a pretty high dose of this. Like I don't know, I think maybe 12 milligrams. Yeah, so like one pill is 8 milligrams. So I think I was still on 1.5. And I was like, you know, I'm still kind of taking a lot. The baby's not going to withdraw after she's born. And he didn't have a good bedside manner at all. He was a pretty hateful dude. I mean, but you know, in that situation, you're like, I'm dealing with a junkie who was doing drugs while she's this pregnant. Like, I can see where he would be hateful, but I mean, at the same time, I was there to get help. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. But I was like, I'm still on a lot. Like, you sure she's not going to be sick? He's like, she's not going to be sick. I know what she's doing, and I know what I'm doing. And I was even taking less on my own. Well, I went and I had her. Everything was okay, and she withdrawed from the Suboxone. The doctor prescribed pills for like 3.5 days. She'd take a deep breath in, and she would kind of tremble, and she wasn't having it. She was straight up not having a good time. So like, we were in the hospital for a long time. They was monitoring her. And while I laid in the hospital bed next to my baby who was going through withdrawals, I went back to using. The same lady that gave me the pregnancy test, she came to see the baby. And I got my baby daddy to follow her out. I was like, tell her that you need it. Tell her that you've been up, you hadn't slept well, and you're just miserable, and you just want to go to sleep, and it's been a lot. I was like, just gas her up and get her to give you one. And she did. And yeah, I laid in the hospital bed with my big C-section wound because they had just closed me up. And while watching my baby withdraw, and I did a pill, you know, what had made my baby feel that way, because, you know, if I wouldn't have been on the drugs, I wouldn't have needed the Subutex, and she wouldn't be withdrawing. But it didn't matter. As much as I hated that she was having a hard time, it didn't matter. Like, drugs were so important to me.
I mean, it's a hook.
Yeah.
It's a hook. You know, once it gets you, it's kind of drawing you in, and so you might want to step away from it, but at the same time, there's a call, you know, and I've seen it happen quite a lot with family members. So I could understand, you know, I'm very sympathetic to that. So I definitely understand. So you're in the hospital, you just had the baby, you're in the in the postpartum room and you took the pill and you faded out while the baby was there. Anybody noticed?
No. I mean,
Does anybody care?
yeah, did anybody care to notice? But you're kind of out of it after you have a baby. Like, so, I mean, you're resting a lot because that's a lot. That's a big thing to happen.
Life-changing event.
Yes. So it was, it was fine. I mean, it wasn't fine, but it was fine. We went home. They sent me home with a bunch of Percocets, a bunch of Percocet tins. So in my mind, I'm like, as long as it's like, if it's this kind of pill, then what I would feel.
And he's just feeding you.
Yeah. I feel like, I want to say they gave me like 90 Percocet tins. It's like 60 or 90. It was a lot. So when I had my son, they didn't send me home with nothing. Like, I was still in the hospital and I'm like, I'm dying. And they're like, okay, we brought you an ibuprofen. I mean, which was fine. But like Erlanger, they was just feeding it to me. And so in my mind, I'm like, well, I have this bottle of pills. If something happened and then made me take a drug test, I could be like, it's a prescription. Like, when I'm hurting, I just take one ever so often. And drug addicts are like master manipulators. You'd be surprised what they can come across with, and you're just like, wow, really? And like, you just believe them because they're just, anything to get your fix. So, baby daddy went back to jail. He didn't show up for, I don't know, to his probation officer or something. It was something stupid. Actually, I think you're supposed to make a monthly payment to your probation officer, and he wasn't doing that, so he went back to jail. I was so mad at him. I'm like, are you kidding me? You just had to pay once a month, and you wouldn't have been back to jail? When I was already back on drugs, but when he left, I kind of really went back as deep as I was. It was very fast, and I'm not blaming him, but like, it's a scary thing to do alone. But I lost custody of her before she was a year old, and my mom took her. I went to rehab in Alabama. That didn't help. I came back and I was using. I went to another rehab. I feel like I met somebody there that I ended up using with. I met my second baby daddy at the first rehab that I went to in Alabama. I'm not gonna say that rehab didn't save my life. I went to rehab 13 times.
Woo.
And
wow.
I definitely learned something every time I went, positive and negative. I learned a lot of things that I didn't know about drugs. I went to a place in Chattanooga called Cadis. I went there and I was talking to a dude, and he was like, yeah, I just live right down the street. I have to be here. He's like, my nephew's there selling purple fentanyl right now. Well, that's really good. The colors kind of tell you the white is okay, but like the purple's good stuff. And I was like, really?
Wait a minute. This is fentanyl, though. This is the killer drug that people are dying from.
Yes. Well, okay, so let me back up a little bit. My high school best friend, Alexis, we had done absolutely insane things together. And she did a Roxy. It was a pressed Roxy, so I had fentanyl in it, and she didn't wake up the next morning. Anybody, you and I, we could throw in together. You can go online right now, eBay, Amazon even, maybe, and buy a pill press. And we could mix up some stuff and press a pill. We get the colors right. It'll look exactly like one you get from the pharmacy.
Now, I don't know what a pill press is. So what is a pill press?
It is a device. You pull it down and it compacts the powder into the shape with the brand, with the the letters and numbers, same as you would get from the pharmacy.
Oh wow!
So a lot of fake Roxy's, Roxycodone. So it's a smaller pill. Some are green, some are blue, and that's usually, they press other pills, but that is usually the one. And so they'll press that and they'll put God knows what in it, like literally whatever, like sometimes just whatever they've got laying around, they scrape it in there and press the pill. And So yeah, my high school best friend did that, and she didn't wake up the next day, and like I honestly didn't think there was anything that would kill her. So so yeah, I lost my daughter, went to a bunch of rehabs. I got into some trouble. I did a little bit of jail time, and I got released on house arrest at my mom's house. I got pregnant with my son, and I was on house arrest, so I couldn't do any drugs. And it requires weekly drug screens, and they call you all the time. What are you doing? How you doing? And so I couldn't manipulate myself my way out of that situation. So COVID was happening. So at the start of COVID, people went crazy. Like, don't come in, wear a mask. We don't want to see you if we don't have to. So that's what the probation office did. They were like, no in-person drug tests for a while. So like, boom, I could get high. So I started doing what I thought was heroin, and I did it for a while because, I want to say it was like a couple months of no drug screens because, COVID, like, people were freaking, yeah. It stopped a lot of things. People were scared. People were like, don't get near me. I don't want to shake your hand. Put your mask on. Please put your mask on.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which kind of helped out a whole lot because they can't really see.
Yeah. But so everybody was panicking in a frenzy. So the drug test stopped. So and I was pregnant. So
this is the pregnant third?
The second.
Second.
I only have 2 kids. Second pregnancy. So I was able to leave the house because I had doctor's appointments. So the only time you can leave your house on house arrest is if you got court, if you're going to see the probation officer, or for medical emergency, or doctor's appointment. So I was going to the baby doctor, so I had a reason to leave the house. And baby doctors can be quick or they can take hours. And like everybody knows that. Any kind of doctor you go to, you might be in and out, you might be there a couple hours. So I definitely took advantage of that. And as long as I had the paper, my probation officer, she liked me, and she was nice, and she was like,
she worked with you.
Yeah, she worked with me. So it was never like, what time did you get out of the doctor, and what time did you get home? She was like, I never gave her a reason not to trust me. So I was going to a doctor's appointment where they would do an ultrasound, and I would see my beautiful baby boy growing inside of me. And then I would leave and go meet the dope man and get high. Even after, everything I went through with my daughter, it didn't matter. It didn't matter, like, that I may lose him. Like, he might die. Me doing these drugs could kill him. Or, when I have him, they take him away from me. Like, it didn't matter. I was so excited that I could go get high again. And I was so excited I could get away with it. So that went on for quite some time, and then like out of nowhere she called me and she's like, hey, we're starting up in-person drug screening again. She's like, still wear a mask, like they didn't let you come in, like you came up, you rang the bell, you went back and sat in your car. Like they didn't even have people sitting in the lobby. Like they brought in one person at a time, that hand sanitizer, like I'm standing at the door. So heroin only stays in your system for 72 hours. So for a while, I was still able to use and still get away with it, like take my drug test and pass it, because, you timed it. Yeah. I went in and took a drug test on a Monday, so I've got all week. She's not going to call me in at least until next Monday, but usually it would probably be later in the week, like Wednesday, so I could use up until Friday, and then, all day Saturday and Sunday, and I had it timed right. So it worked out, because like I said, drug addicts, master manipulators. Well, I went in 1 week for a drug screen. Like I talked to her as usual. Like we had a good little relationship. I peed in my little cup and I went home, and she called me like 2 days later and she's like, what's up? And I was like, oh, I'm just hanging out. And she's like, no, what's up? What have you been doing? I was like, she's like, I got your drug test results. And I was like, Miss Ford, I really like heroin. It opened up and I was able to do heroin, so I've been doing it, and I've been doing it for a while. She's like, you didn't fail for heroin. I was like, why would I lie to you? Like, you caught me. I know I'm caught. I did heroin. She's like, you failed for fentanyl. And I was like, I didn't even know what it was. All I knew was that it killed my high school best friend. All I knew was a pressed pill that had fentanyl in it killed the girl that I thought was unkillable. Like, I had seen her do crazy things. Her and I had talked about speedballing, and you like legally speedballed, coffee and Tylenol. Like we were mixing meth with Xanaxes. Like a doctor will tell you you will die. Your heart will explode. You will literally die if you mix those two drugs. I mean, by the grace of God, we didn't. But any doctor will tell you, you will die if you mix those together. And I just didn't think that anything like that could harm her. Like, she was an expert drug addict, and it killed her. So, like, I was just like, Miss Ford, I don't even know what fentanyl is. And she's like, well, it's a synthetic heroin. So, you know, they, of course, you know, you're buying heroin and they're selling you that instead. She was like, she's like, I'm going to report you, but go in front of the judge tomorrow. Ask her if you can go to rehab. I was so pregnant. I was huge. I was so pregnant, and I looked like crap. Like, I had sores on my face. Like, you could just visibly tell. And, you know, baby takes it out of you too. So being on drugs and being pregnant, like, you just look sickly, because I wasn't eating right. I wasn't drinking right. So, but
And the baby's pulling all of your resources.
Yeah.
Everything.
And if you're not eating right or drinking right, the baby don't care. It's going to pull it from your teeth, from your bones, from your skin. Like, the baby's going to be good regardless. Rather,
the baby's trying to live.
Yeah. So I went in front of the judge, Hamilton County's Judge Statham. A lot of people are like, she's mean. Like, she's amazing. I went in front of her the first time at a young age, and like, she just saw something in me. And I came in and she's like, what are you doing here? And I was like, I had a slip up and I need to go to rehab. And she's like, you look awful. She's like, what were you thinking? And she was just so disappointed in me. I'm sure she was upset too, like what I was doing to myself and the baby, but she was just so disappointed. And she was like, do you have a rehab and a ride? And I'm like, absolutely. I already had those lined up because I want to go to jail. Jail's no fun. Jail's definitely not fun when you're pregnant. So I went to rehab and I manipulated these people. I was like, I only used once or twice. Like, I don't even know why I'm here. Like, they wanted to make sure the baby was okay, and they didn't want to send me to jail. And they're like, this was the alternative. And he was like, oh, okay, well, you'll go home the day after tomorrow. Like, I was literally there only a couple days. I just manipulated these people so hard. So I went home and I ended up having the baby. I was scared, so I didn't do drugs for a while. I had my son and I started drinking a lot, and a lot of times addicts will replace one for another, like, oh, I'm not doing drugs, let me stay drunk all the time. I didn't like to drink.
Because it's a numbness. You still have to keep that
seeking
numbness.
it, need it, gotta, wanna, need a, get a, have a. And so yeah, I started drinking all the time, and I don't like to drink. I was like, I need the strong stuff. I like to get high. And this, like, alcohol was only working for, like, I don't know, I guess I needed people to trust me again. I didn't have to be sober. I guess I was just, you know, just as manipulation. It was a whole thing. But yeah, anyways, I went back to doing drugs, and I really liked fentanyl. You know, the drug I didn't know that I was doing, the drug that killed my best friend, like, I liked it. It was, you know, it's like it's synthetic, like they make it in a lab. Like you can't, like, doctors and hospitals, they do have fentanyl for certain things, but the stuff you buy on the street isn't like regulated medical grade fentanyl. This is God knows what. But I liked it, and I started doing that again, and it was quick. It was quick.
No.
I remember I had a regular from prostitution. He, nice guy. He worked at Coca-Cola. Really nice guy. And he always had Dr. Pepper cream sodas every time I went over there. And that was like when they first came out, so they're kind of hard to find. And he had them in the cans, and nice guy. But I would take my baby over there and just kind of leave him in his car seat and face him towards the wall and make money with this guy so that I could go get high. Like, it just didn't matter. And I mean, I can justify it saying, you know, I knew him. He wasn't going to hurt me or the baby. And he wasn't. He was a nice guy. But at that point, even if it had been a stranger, if I'd have needed it right then, I would have went and done it. I'd have took my baby to a stranger's house and had sex with them for money so I could go get my drugs. It was just so quick. No matter how long I was sober, no matter how long I did well, like, it was just, you drink one night and smoke a little pot, and then the next day you're kind of hungover and like, oh, well, my drug of choice would fix this.
What was your DOC?
Heroin and then fentanyl.
Fentanyl.
Well, oxymorphone, heroin, and then fentanyl. Like, I never went back from fentanyl. It's just, I couldn't imagine how strong it is today as we sit here. I couldn't imagine how strong the stuff is that was going around because times that I was sober for a while and I would go and get some fentanyl, it was different. Like every time, like it was stronger. It
got more stronger as a...
Like it was just crazy, daily. I'm sure it's, all my friends are dead from fentanyl overdoses. Any person that I used to do.
And they're doing the same type of drug with you, same type of drug that you've done, and many of them died.
All of them. Any friend that real friend that I had that I did fentanyl with is dead and gone.
Wow. Were you prostituting at the same time?
Oh yeah, yeah.
With all of this?
Yeah.
This was how you made your money to feed the need. Wow. I don't know. I have not lived in Chattanooga long enough. I don't really see any of that on the streets.
Well,
like, is there a certain place that people go to for this type of thing, or were you like one of those what they call a call girl?
Well, there's websites, you can post an ad on, but I was so bold. I was posting it on Facebook, like your Facebook story, it goes across at the top. Like I'd be like, I'm doing meetups tonight, or like I'd be in my hotel room, like, and just like make a video and like showing the room behind me and be like, meetups tonight. Like I was really bold in it. Like at least if it was somebody I was meeting from Facebook, with a friend of a friend, and not that anybody's safe to meet, ever, like by the grace of God, I never met anybody crazy.
But in your mind, this was like a safer way to do it because there's like a person that you may know, somebody else.
Or a friend, somebody I know knows,
Exactly.
Like not just a complete stranger, but people are crazy. You never really know anybody. Even you never know somebody.
No, of course not. I mean, that's, I think that's what keeps the balance of life, The only person that knows us is Christ. You don't even know yourself. And there are times people say, I didn't even know I can do this or that, right? Because there are things about yourself you have not even learned as yet that God hasn't brought out about you. Right, as he continues to fashion you and to mold you, you start to see the good and the bad. The closer you get to Christ, the more you start seeing yourself of not being the person you thought you were, right? So that's with anybody, right? But I think that's what causes the balance of life, because if you think that's when you fall. There's a text in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 10. Take heed, take heed of yourself where you think you may know, lest you fall, right? So, I believe that we all have a lot of growing to do with even our own selves. So, that makes a lot of sense.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because anytime I was like, well, at least I don't shoot up. It was like days later when I was shooting up. Like, the enemy is powerful too, and he hears what you're saying.
Yes, what you're speaking into the air.
Yeah.
Yes, speaking to the atmosphere.
I'm not using a needle. Like, then every day I was shoving a needle in my arm. Like, it was so quick, and I lost custody of my son, and my mom wouldn't take him this time because she was like, Hillary, if I take this baby, he will never get it together. She was like, if he's right next door with me, she's like, you'll never get sober. So my baby daddy's mom ended up taking him. She was not kind. She has a controlling problem. She's a miserable person, and I'm very thankful that she took my son. I mean, if she wouldn't have, my mom would have taken him, but my mom was trying to, set her boundary and stay firm, because for 14 years, my mom dealt with me. Like, there was times she would send somebody down to check on me because she was afraid she'd walk in with me dead with a needle in my arm. Like, I put my mom through it. So,
Do you have any other siblings?
Yeah, I have a brother and a sister. I'm the oldest. So,
And they looked up to you?
I kind of wasn't around. So, My brother kind of started to come in to stay with me. But he smokes a lot of weed. Like, he definitely tried all the drugs that I was doing, but he's just a pothead. And like, he still is. I see him occasionally, but we're just, you know, but, some people just aren't addicts. She's still my friend. We never did fentanyl together. She just wasn't an addict. Like, we would try something, and like the next day I'd be like, I really like that. And she'd be like, yeah, it was cool. Like, let's go do this. And I'm like, no, we need to get more of that. We need to do that every day for the rest of our lives now. And she was just like, no, we can get you some, but like, I want to do this. She just wasn't.
So she was a switch up.
Yeah.
That's what they call a switch hitter.
Well, she could do it and, be like, yeah, that was cool. Glad I tried it. And then like move on with her life. Right. Not me, baby. I tried it. I loved it. Hooked. I need it.
Yeah. You get hooked.
And,
I was never a pothead, but I did have my amounts of weed, right? I did smoke weed, never smoked cigarettes. But one thing about me is that I was never a person that got hooked. I just was like, yeah, I'd socially do it. Mm-hmm. I'm with the guys on the streets, whatever have you, with my boys. Yeah, they'll puff, pass. But I would not be the one to go buy a bag.
Right.
I would never be the one to, say I need to have this in the morning and the evening and the night. I just didn't, it never appealed to me that way. But yeah, I guess you do have some people that just don't get hooked to anything.
And that's so crazy to me. Like, any drug I tried, I was like, oh, need some more of that. And then, like you're just like, yeah, I'll hit it if it's passed to me, but I'm not like thinking about it all the time.
Right.
And all the rehabs I went to and stuff, they're like, addiction is like genetics, it's hereditary, like this, that, and this. Like, if your mom's wasn't an addict, but your dad is, you have this much chance of being an addict. Like, and that's one day, that's a conversation I'm going to have with my kids, because me and both baby daddies were addicts. They're, one's in prison and one's in jail, but I don't know what they're doing in there. They like to get high, and I pray for them. And,
Can I ask you, were both these guys on during your time of prostitution? Were they clients, or were they just regular guys that you liked?
Baby daddy number one, he was just a guy I liked, and we hung out one day, and then like we were together forever. Like, I was like, live with me, and he's like, okay. And I was dancing at the time. I wasn't prostituting like as much then. Like, I was selling pictures and videos and stuff, but and I would kind of do some stuff sometimes, but he knew about it. I wasn't like gonna keep it from him, but he knew that where I worked. When you date a stripper, like, what do you expect?
Yeah, what's like, the expectations? Right.
This
is what I do for a living. So
yeah,
he knows that.
So they weren't, not that they were cool about it. Like, they were like, I'm so excited you're going to have sex with someone else, but like they knew what they was getting into. Yeah. So they were both just guys that I liked. Baby daddy number two, I met him in a rehab.
That's right.
And yeah.
That's wild. So talk to us about, you went through all of this, right? You went through a lot of pain of losing friends. Your brother and your sister never really got close to you, where they can say, hey, that's my big sister. I look up to her. Your mom is in your corner. It's like you're in a boxing ring fighting against Satan, and she's there with Christ. She's like, the cut person, right? And Jesus is there, the coach, and she's your cut man. She's there to make sure you get the Vaseline on your face, as you might get punched up a couple times, but you're still in the ring. You're still in the ring. What was it that got you to come out that ring victorious? Like, take us through the steps. You had two babies, two different baby daddies. Your DOCs is fentanyl and heroin, and but you're now starting to make that transition. Like, when did the transition for you begin?
I had very minimal things to do in order to get custody of my children back. They wanted me to be sober. They wanted me to go through rehab. They wanted me to go through an outpatient program, take a couple parenting classes. Like, it wasn't a lot. And I wanted to be sober. There was so many times I was so tired of waking up dope sick. I was so tired of prostituting. I was so tired of meeting strangers. I was so tired of seeing and hearing things that weren't there. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. Like I said, 13 rehabs. And, not all of those rehabs were something I had to do, like court ordered or something. Like, there was a couple times I went because I wanted it, but I couldn't do it. Like, the enemy had me. So I did what I was supposed to do, and I got custody of my children back because, like, in my mind, I knew if I get these babies back and I can focus on being a mom and I got something to do, something to focus on, like, other than drugs, like, things are going to be better. I just knew it, and I got custody of them back, and things weren't better. I was sober for a little minute, and then I was back to using again. So I remember I had my son in the back seat. He was young, and I had met the dope man, and I was on my way home. And fentanyl has a very distinctive smell. So by this point, my family knew what it smelled like. So it was hard for me to do it in the driveway or in the house. Like, I kind of had to wait till people went to sleep so I could do it outside, because it's very distinctive, and like you hit it off some foil in the car, and then you walk in where you are, and it's following you. It's lingering. So I pulled in the Publix parking lot. It's like a couple miles from my house, and I hit my fentanyl off aluminum foil. You put it on aluminum foil, you light it underneath with a lighter, and you suck up the smoke with a straw. That was the way I liked to do it. And I nodded out for...
Okay, this is the powder form at this point. This is not even the pill that you guys were making.
Right.
Wow, okay.
So I nodded out for only God knows how long. Only God in heaven knows how long I sat in that parking lot. And I came to, and I looked back, and my son was just staring at me, probably thinking, why are we still sitting here? And it was wild. And a few more things like that happened, like where I could have killed my kids in the car. Like, things started to get real, and my mom was like, you have to leave. She's like, you're not taking your daughter. She's in school. That's not fair to uproot her from what she knows because you're a failure. You can't stay sober. She's like, you and your son, there's a place on the mountain, Sand Mountain maybe. They would take me and my son. They would give childcare while I was doing it's a full day of AA meetings and, mental health groups and this and that. And they're like, they'll watch your son while you do that. And there's a preschool, and it's like all in the compound. She's like, you have to go, and you have to take your son, and you have to go up there. And I was like, Mom, it's been 14 years. I was like, just give me one more chance. I was like, How
old are you by this time?
This was just a little over a year ago. So,
wow.
I was like, I do not know what to do. I have went to rehabs. I have tried this. I have tried that. I've done AA. I've done inpatient. I've done outpatient. I don't know what to do. Please help me. And she was like, start taking your kids to church. And the first time I took my babies to Sabbath school, we're Adventists, so we go on Saturdays. The first time I took my babies to church.
So wait, so wait a minute. You guys, your mom's an Adventist?
Mm-hmm.
And you grew up as an Adventist all this time. And she's going to church every Saturday, every Sabbath.
And praying for me.
Praying for you. Got your name on the list. 14 plus years. And the toughest thing she ever did for you was say, go. Take your son and go.
There was a couple times before she's like, you have to leave and you're not coming back till you go to rehab. And you're like, okay, I'll go to rehab.
Well, yeah, but that was a little bit different. I think that one hit differently.
Yes.
That time it hit differently.
She was like, get your baby and pack y'all's little bags and get out.
And get out.
And
there was like no, in her eyes, in your eyes, there was not like a turn back
she's
around.
bluffing.
Like she wasn't bluffing. This time she was like, this is tough love.
Yeah.
And she believed that you would turn around.
Well, she was praying, all these years, silent prayer requests. She raised her hand. She's a cosmetologist, so she does hair. She does hair. A lot of Adventist people's hair, a lot of all different kinds of people's hair. And they're like, how's your daughter? And she's just, just pray for her. How's your daughter? Please keep her in your prayers.
Wow.
When, does anybody have any prayer requests? Keep my daughter in your prayers. Like, just anybody.
Just as simple as that.
That she could tell, and to this day, I'll run into people that I don't even know. And they're like, we saw your story. We've been praying for you for years.
Hillary needed some time to gather herself as the tears began to flow. This interview was emotional.
So yeah, my mom was on it. She was on it. People were praying. And, a lot of people would be like, I've been praying for years and years and God's not hearing me. My mom prayed for 14 years. And so she's like, get it together and start going to church. Start taking your babies to church. Because it was beyond my power to free myself from the hell that I was living in.
And you wanted to be free.
And I did want to be free. I didn't know what to do. So the first time I took my babies to Sabbath school, I walked them in. I walked back out to my car, drove down the road, and I got high. The next time I walked my babies in, I went back out to the car and I sat in the Harrison Seventh-day Adventist Church parking lot and I smoked fentanyl off a tinfoil. I kept going back. I kept walking them in every Sabbath and leaving and going to sit in the car and doing my thing. And then one Sabbath I walked in and I was crying and I was just a mess. And a sweet lady was like, we'd love for you to stay for the adult Sabbath school class.
You're there that early. You're there that early.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing.
And I was like, okay. She's like, we won't ask you nothing. I'll tell nobody. Nobody will talk to you. Just come in. Don't go back out to the car. Don't leave. And I did. And I sat there and I cried and I cried. And my mom, for years, she was like, baby, pray. She's like, please just pray. She's like, God can help you. She's like, you won't let me help you. Nothing else has helped you. Just like God can deliver you. And I started praying. I started praying and praying and praying. Then I was like, God, just, take this away from me. Deliver me from this. And it's like it wasn't working. He wasn't hearing me. And then one night, I don't know what, I said a prayer and I was like, God, thank you. Thank you for setting me free from addiction. Thank you for removing this burden from me. And it was like instant. Like he hadn't removed it from me yet. I just started thanking him for doing what he hadn't done. And it's like, it was just instant.
And you spoke that into existence.
I spoke that into existence. And it was crazy. Like I just had a peace. I just had such a deep peace, like the peace that I had searched for in all the drugs, because drugs can be peaceful.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
That's the whole point of it. The whole point of it is to, that's what crack cocaine, I mean, I know a couple people who took crack and they were like, it puts you in a place of such a relaxed mode that you just don't feel any. Some people say they don't even hear what's going on around them. It's just you in this space. Mm-hmm. And that's all that it is. And then you come right out of it. Once the high is gone, you realize that you need something else.
So
So you got that peace.
I got that peace.
That passes all understanding.
God set me free. I was like a week and a half later, I stopped smoking marijuana. I was like, I'll always smoke pot. I'll always smoke pot. And, God is so gentle and he's so patient. He's so kind. Like, it wasn't like, you're going to stop doing that right now. Like a week and a half later, I was like, I don't want this. It's just, it's changing me too.
Right.
And a couple days later, I stopped. I vaped for a while. I never really liked to vape. I don't like the wet feeling. It's like a wet feeling in your lungs. I never really liked that, but I like to smoke cigarettes because, you smoke pot and you do your drugs, you light a cigarette up after, and it like sets everything in.
It balances it.
Yeah, you get the full effect. Like you're really high after you light that cigarette.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, then he set me free from fentanyl, which was my life. The love of my life was fentanyl, the drug that killed
your friends,
and is still killing. You know, people that I know are dying regularly. Like you know, maybe somebody I did drugs with, not a friend, like an acquaintance, but they're dying like left and right. Like I think it was maybe 2 weeks ago, somebody that I knew very well, I've known forever since I was young, overdosed on fentanyl. Like this is something, I don't know, I feel like at least once a month, somebody that I know or knew is dying. And God set me free. And, you know, people always ask, well, do you have cravings? Do you want to go get high? I don't. God took it from me. Like when I fully surrendered to God and I just gave it to him, he didn't miss. He didn't let me down. He's got my back. Like the enemy always plants thoughts, you know.
Of course.
Even not addicts, you know, just
social people who want to socially do something. You know, it's always that he sends them at you over and over again. And that's what I want. That was my next question. So you know, how do you, and you know, how do you look to fend that off? I mean, I know Christ is your shield at this point, but what do you do?
I stay to myself. I went to and you know, I get a lot of hate about this on the internet. I've wanted to delete social media many times, but and I was really thinking about it. And then I was in the Dollar General, like I think maybe 2 weeks ago, and a lady, I was like, you're somebody's mom. And she was like, a lot of people are somebody's mom. And I just couldn't think of who she was. And she's like, Kaylin, that's my daughter. And she's like, I know who you are. She's like, we're friends on Facebook. She said, I always read what you post. And I was like, you know, that was God. Because I was like, I was going to delete that because people are so negative on the internet. Because, you know, obviously they hide behind a computer. They say whatever. And she was like, no, keep doing what you're doing. Like I post Bible verses and I post real stuff. Like not too long ago, I posted a picture. I was high. I was using. My hair looked great. My makeup was done. I was at the strip club. So, you know, I was my lashes and I looked really well put together in this picture. I was at the lowest part of my life. Like, and I share things like that. Like you can't judge by what they're posting on Facebook. I was a whole junkie and a whole prostitute, but in that picture, I looked like I was doing okay. And I post things like this, the world's not even really real. Like the internet's not real. I don't mean that in a sense, like I think this is the Matrix or anything. It's just like.
Kind of sort of is. But
yeah, like social media is definitely the Matrix. Mm-hmm. Like it's just, it's crazy. And she was like, no, keep doing what you're doing. Like people need to see what
you
you're
never
posting.
know who you're blessing.
Yeah. And I had posted one of the reasons I wanted to give up social media. I went to a celebration of life for a family member that I just loved. She was crazy. We used to smoke pot together. Not a bad crazy, just, you know, she was older and she was really chill and I loved her. And I went to her celebration of life. Everybody was drinking. Everybody was going outside every few minutes to smoke cigarettes. Everybody smelled like pot and cigarette smoke. Some people were high.
Mild and
yeah. So I made a post. I was like, I went to somebody who I loved a lot. I went to their celebration of life. And, you know, my kids got the pleasure of witnessing people drinking. Everybody smoking cigarettes. I was like, you know, this is why I say to myself, and I won't be attending another funeral or celebration of life because I don't ever want my kids to think it's okay to smoke or drink. And, you know, if they're around it, you know, like cigarettes are so socially accepted and so is alcohol. Like, oh, you had a long day, you drink, or, oh, we just ate, we'll go outside and have a cigarette. Let's all go, you know, cigarette break. And I had people comment like, you were literally a prostitute selling yourself and you're going to talk down about people who are drinking. It's like light doesn't have anything in common with darkness. No. I'm not judging those people. I loved a lot of those people. I've known them forever. There was some family members. I can't. I don't want to. I spent 14 years smelling like a cigarette, being around a bunch of dope heads. These people weren't bad people. Dope heads aren't bad people. That drugs change you. Drugs make you do the most for no reason. Drugs make you steal from your mama. Drugs will make you unplug your grandmother's life support so you can charge your phone so you can call the dope man. You know, those aren't things that anybody would do until you're dope sick. And
Now, what's dope sick?
Oh gosh. Okay. So any kind of opiates, fentanyl, pain pills, they, like I said, 2 or 3 days using them, the 3rd or 4th day you wake up, you're going to be sick. Cramping in your legs, you're yawning, you're sneezing, your back hurts, you have a headache, you're achy, you're cold, you're sweaty, you can't stay still, you're twitching your leg, you just want to stretch, you want to lay down, you want it to be dark. It's like the most awful thing ever. Like you want to rip one leg off and beat the other leg with your severed leg. Like nothing, massaging it, rubbing it. You haven't been eating or drinking right. You're dehydrated, so that's making all like leg cramps. Leg cramps suck.
Yeah,
Even as a
Charlie horses.
yes, and that's and they're just 1,000 times worse. You know, when you're an addict and you're coming off this stuff. And there's like no soothing. Like you try, a hot shower, that works for a second. Then you're out, you're sweaty again, you're freezing, you're soaking wet from the sweat. And this isn't regular sweat. This is meth sweat. This is fentanyl sweat. This is your body trying to remove all these toxins.
So there's the toxins, your body's fighting it.
Yeah, and like
That's why you're getting these hot chills, these chills and the fever and this, that, because your body's actually fighting it. Wow.
I heard one person say, because a lot of people get started on their drug journey because they were in a car wreck or something. You know, they got hurt, they broke a leg, so the doctor wrote them pills. And I don't know who this girl was, but she had been prescribed pain pills, and she kind of ran out of them, didn't think nothing of it. And then she's like, I woke up in the middle of the night covered in sweat. She's like, I thought I had the flu. I thought I was dying. I thought something was really wrong with me. She was dope sick, but she wasn't a drug addict, so she didn't know it. And then she's like, I go to the hospital and I'm like, something's wrong. Like I'm dying, like something's wrong with me. And then like, you know, oh, you ran out of your pills. And you know, most doctors are like, "Oh, well, you're just trying to get some pain pills." And she was like, "What?" She didn't even understand that
to bring her down from what she's going through.
Yeah,
You know, it's amazing because the word pharmakia. You ever heard that word before?
Mm-mm.
Okay, it's a Greek word. And the Greek word means pharmacy. But pharmakia means spirits. It means spiritualism. It conjures up what they call the medicine that gives you these feelings of high spirits, that you in a different you can travel from different portals and different places at different times. It brings your mind to certain different areas. Right, so you take what they call a concoction, and that's what the pharmacist or the pharmacist would give you. In other words, you have the medicine man, the obeah man, right? You go to him for healing, and in many places in Africa and these other different indigenous countries, that's what they have. They have the medicine man. The person that they go to who's, an elderly person who's a senior, and they have all this wisdom, and they make these concoctions, but they pray over these concoctions. They do seances over these concoctions. They ask for the spirits to move on top of these concoctions. So you have witches and sorcerers who do these types of things, and they give it to people, and people take them. And they themselves, the people who take them, in turn, behave the way that the spirit that was put on it, the spirit transfers over to them. So today, the word pharmacy is coming. It's the root word is pharmakia for pharmacy. That's where it comes from. And we go to our pharmacy, and guess what they prescribe us? Drugs. The same way. And what you had just talked about in terms of the press pill or the pill press, Maybe I may be saying it wrong.
Nope, same thing.
Okay.
It's a pill press, and you
Pill
make
press.
pressed pills. So
Right.
yeah,
I didn't know about that,
a lot of people don't.
right? But here it is that's what they use, right? To make these drugs. Obviously, painkiller drugs is what numbs the body. And people go to that first. Oxycodone, all these types of things, they go to that first. I remember a tooth pulled out, right? And I remember when the doctor gave it to me the first time, I was in Indianapolis, and I had driven from Atlanta to Indianapolis. And I was supposed to drive back to Atlanta, but I went to the dentist because I had such a bad pain in my mouth. Of course, I had a bad tooth. Pulled it out. It was a root canal. Did the root canal, and then of course they gave me this drug, and he told me, you're gonna need to use this, but you can't drive. Well,
Remember what it was?
I don't remember what it was. And of course, it had something that had said that oxy. It was oxycodone, because that's what they normally give you. And I took it. Actually, he gave me the first one at the dentist because, I'm in a lot of pain,
Yeah.
of course. So I took it, and he gave it to me. And of course, the first 25 minutes, I'm not really feeling anything. I'm feeling numb, but I'm not feeling anything until about the 26th minute when I'm like,
Yeah, I'm feeling something.
5 minutes away from my friend's house, and I start to feel this really drowsy. I can't almost see the road. I'm really loopy, and I don't know where I'm at this point. And I stumbled to my friend's house, and I literally just said, I think something to him, and I went and hit the couch. And that's all I remember. I was knocked out for hours. And then that loopy behavior when you're talking to people in your loopiness and they're talking back to you and you're saying dumb stuff. Yeah, that's what they recorded me saying dumb stuff to them. And after that, I said, you know what? I'm not messing with that drug anymore. I'm not taking that drug. I had an operation not too long ago, and they gave me painkillers. And I took none of it because I remembered what it did to me that one time in Indianapolis. So yeah, there are people who like that feeling, and they're like, oh man, that was a great feeling.
So you're just not an addict.
Right.
Because, like that, it just takes that one time. You're like, oh, that made me feel like that. Oh, they wrote me a prescription of it. Oh, I can keep taking this.
Right.
And, praise God you're not an addict because, that's the one they gave you after the root canal. You probably needed it. You probably needed to be loopy and get that good rest. You said you hit the couch and you didn't remember. That was good for your healing process because, the more you rest, the more you heal.
Right.
But for them to, write you a whole prescription and you was kind of fine after that one. You went home and
That
napped.
one, yeah, I never.
And you was kind of, like pain-wise, you was like managing and they wrote you a whole prescription and you didn't even need it. Like that's if you would have been an addict, that'd set you up for failure to have a prescription of that. Because I'm telling you, 2 or 3 days and you wake up sick, you need it. You'll rob your mama to get it. Like this is a sickness, this is a hurt, this is a pain. You would sell your soul to get rid of. You do anything, sell yourself. A lot of guys, they're not gay. They've done some gay things because they needed this pill. They needed that high. They needed that fix. And, people are always quick to say, I can't believe you did that. You wasn't feeling the way I was feeling. Like, even the way I described it to you, that's like, doesn't even give it justice.
That's right.
It's just horrible.
And that's the good thing about Christ because he knows that, right? He knows, like what you just said to me, like these people are not bad people. These folks who, men who had to give themselves up just for the drug, he's not actually that way, right? That person's not a thief. He's just doing it because of the drug. He needs the fix, right? If you take the fix from him, he'll be a normal person, right? And that's the great thing about even speaking to you because I'm looking at you and I'm trying to find that person. And, okay, there are people that you can tell the drug sucked them up. It their face is drawn in a lot of thing about them is their eyes are swollen inside, and because you can see the difference from when they were normal to the time when they are on this drug. But coming to Christ, he makes you over completely. Like, besides well, I'm not just what your tattoo says. I'm sure the heart is the heart is for the baby or for the friend?
Oh, it's just a heart.
Just a heart. Okay.
But this says Mama Tried.
Okay.
I got it when I was at a very low point because my mom was just going through it. Like I remember one time she was like, "What if I died? Would you get sober then?" And she was like,
tried.
"That's a stupid question." She's like, "If I died, that'd give you an excuse to get high." And then she said, "I don't know why I'm having this conversation, trying to say something to hurt you. You get enough pleasure out of hurting yourself." And I was high when she said that to me. Like, that's something I shouldn't remember. And I say that every time I share my story. I put that in there because she was tired. She didn't know what to do. She was praying like, "God, lead and guide me." But I got the tattoo because I was so low. And when you're living that life, a tattoo is like the biggest thing you can do for somebody. Tattoo somebody's name or their initials or this. That's like a big deal.
Yes.
And like, I got this because I wanted to know, like, she did everything she could. She tried. She did well. It wasn't her fault that I turned out like this. And a lot of people ask me, "Are you going to have it removed?" And like, probably not. I have a lot of tattoos that I do, like my knuckles. I already had the one session to remove it, but my knuckles literally say the F word. That's like something I've got a bunch of stuff on my arm. I would like to have those removed, but this face tattoo, like, my mama tried. She did right in so many ways. We went to church.
It's a scar at this point to give you that always look and say, you know what? God has really brought me,
out of the trenches.
Yeah.
Out of the dump. Like, my life was a dumpster fire. Like, I was not okay. And for so long, I was like, I'm maintaining. Am I maintaining? I'm maintaining. And like you have sores all over your face. You're talking to the wall. Like I said, I didn't like meth. I liked the downers. But people say that the devil's not real, and I met him. He's real. Like, there was times where, your body needs sleep, and on meth, that's like the only thing, you can't sleep. So when I was up for, days at a time, like, these entities and these beings taunting me, they were real. Like, it was the devil. Like, I met him. I met his demons. Like, they were humiliating me and taunting me, like, and people are like, "Who are you talking to?" I'm like, "I'm talking to them." And they're like, "You're talking to the wall." Like, no, they're there. Like, when you're seeing and hearing things that nobody else is seeing and hearing, like, that'll get you put in a mental hospital. It's just the drugs. There's nothing wrong with me. By the grace of God, there's nothing wrong with me because I did everything in my power. Like, some people don't come back from that. Some people, like, stay talking to the walls the rest of their lives. Like,
That's wild.
I don't even remember what people call it. They're like,
schizo?
No, they're just like, the drugs have really messed them up. But yeah, some people are schizophrenic without drugs. But then, sometimes, like, the dope, the drugs, it just, like, really gets in your mind and you don't come back from it. And I am a perfectly functioning human, like, and I did everything in my, like, all the cards point to, I shouldn't even be having a conversation with you right now. Like, sometimes people get hot shots, like, they'll shoot up the wrong kind of drugs and then they're just talking crazy the rest of their lives. You can't have a conversation with them. They're not making sense. Like, God knew that those 14 years of hell would lead up to this, me telling you this story. And, like, a lot of, Adventists, they're very modest, the long skirts, and they don't wear makeup in the hair. Like, I'm an Adventist and I'm not putting them down or putting myself down, but people listen to me when I say things. I have a face tattoo. Obviously, I have lived a life. Like, people don't just have face tattoos. And, I am not embarrassed that I was a prostitute. I'm not ashamed that I used to meet strange men in a hotel. Like, everything I did, like, led up to me glorifying God.
Amen.
Like, and this is the 21st time I've shared this story.
Yeah,
and
I've seen you've been.
I can't wait to, you say this is the 100th time I've shared this story.
Wow.
I want to just keep telling people, like, because you can go to church every Saturday or Sunday, whatever day you go, and you hear the preacher talk, and you can really listen, and you can try to understand, and then you can hear my testimony of what God did for me, and just be like, wow, not that I'm special, I'm a nobody, but the story, the life that I led, and what God did for me, and how He delivered me is powerful. A lot of, you can read the Bible and, not really get it, not understand, and then you hear what God did for somebody, and it just changes your entire outlook. And like, that is why I went through those 14 years of hell weren't for nothing. Like, God pulled me out so that I could help people in that situation. And I know people watching right now have maybe children, loved ones, family members. Everybody has an addict in their life.
Yes.
They might not want to admit it, but like, don't stop praying for them, because they'll be like, it's been 9 years, it's been 10 years. My mom prayed for 14, and maybe you're praying for 20. Don't enable that person. Don't give them money to go get high, but talk to them. Tell them you love them. Pray for them. Tell them that you're here and you're ready whenever they're ready to stop. Tell them to pray. Like, don't ever give up on an addict. Don't enable them as well, but like,
Don't give up on them.
don't give up.
Yeah. Let me, so you get into the church, you're crying, Sabbath school happens. That day, how does it make you feel? Because you go from that soon enough into the baptismal waters. So how did it? What did Christ do now to hold you into His arms? How did He pull you in?
That lady, her name's Donna. She is, and we're still friends now. I still go to that same church. She, like, God spoke through her. Because that's the last thing I wanted to do was sit through that Sabbath school class. I was a wreck. I was a mess. I was dressed in all black. Like, I looked like I was there to rob the place. I was crying. I had makeup all down my face and black streaks. Like, I looked like I had my hood up. I looked like a crazy person. And she was like, stay. Like, I needed her. And I said, I couldn't tell you what the Sabbath school lesson was about, but like, just to sit down and like these people, not just like whispering about me, and not just like, and then people talk to me, they're like, oh, are you going to stay for church? Like, we're so glad that you stayed. Like, these people saw me going in and out, and they saw that I was hurting. And like I said, it was just beyond my power to free myself from the hell that I was living in. Like, I tried, because people are like, do an AA meeting, go to rehab, drink a lot of water. Okay, yeah, in theory, that's all good. You do, like, those things can help. But at the end of the day, without God, I don't know how people do anything. Like, people that say, oh, I'm 2 years sober, but they say they don't have God. I don't believe them. How on earth have you been sober 2 years if you don't have God? I mean, there was a time where I was sober for like 18 months. It was to please people. I did want to get sober, but like, every day in the back of my mind, I was like, wonder how much longer I have to wait before I can get high. I wasn't dope sick or anything, but I liked to get high. Getting high, fentanyl was my love. That was my life, to smoke some fentanyl and light up a cigarette and lay and burn myself. To be so high, you just keep burning yourself with a cigarette. I loved that. I just self-sabotaged, but the enemy had me. The devil had me, and he tried so hard to keep me from my purpose. Like, God had a purpose for me, and like I said, I don't
Definitely
regret.
had a purpose for you.
I don't regret.
Definitely had a purpose.
None of it. I don't. I needed to go through every bit of that to know, like, my Heavenly Father is amazing. Like, I told my mom, I was like, if God never does another thing for me, He delivered me from addiction, something I wanted out of so bad, something I tried to leave. Like, God is so good. And a lot of people, like, Christians, they'll be like, I relate to Peter. I relate to one of the disciples. And I relate to Mary Magdalene. Like, she was a prostitute, and she was, full of demons. And then when God delivered her, she just cried at His feet and worshiped Him and followed Him around. And, her expensive bottle of perfume, just dumped it on his feet, wiped it with her hair. Like, she was just in awe, and she just like, I'm going to follow you till the end. And that's how I feel like when I couldn't love myself, when I was so unlovable that people were like, people were weird towards me. God had me, and that's my story.
That's the story. So you got baptized?
I did.
And that was the pinnacle of that mountaintop experience with Christ. After you got baptized, how did your children accept it? How did your children take it? Were they excited for mommy? Were they?
They're little. They're 7 and 4. They didn't really understand.
Okay.
Like, Mommy, you're wet. They didn't understand, but they're always with me and my mom asked me the other day, they're always, if I share at a church, like if I come like here, I don't have them right now, but my mom has them, and a couple other times she's kept them, but a lot of times they're hearing what I'm saying, but my little girl knows that sometimes Mommy used to be mean. So when you're dope sick, I wasn't just beating her or anything. Like, I'm dope sick, get out of my face, stop asking me for chips. I literally just woke up. Like, wow. Go away, please stop banging that. Because I'll be like, you remember Mommy used to be, hateful and just upset sometimes? And she'd be like, yeah. I'm like, baby, it was the drugs. It wasn't Mommy. She doesn't really understand, but she hears me tell my story, and my mom's like, well, what are you going to do when she asks you what a prostitute is? And I was like, I'm going to pray and ask God what to tell her.
Yes.
Because one day when she gets older, I'm going to have to let her know, baby, Mommy really liked to do drugs. Your daddy really liked to do drugs. There's a big chance if you ever try a drug that you might die and you might never quit. There
was a lady that was a prostitute that started her path for Christ to come through her lineage. Her name is Rahab. If it was not for Rahab, Jesus would have had a different path. It was through Rahab, the line that Christ came through, his generational line, was Rahab. Rahab had a son whose name was Obed. Obed married a woman whose name was Ruth. And so says the glory. That's the line of succession. So Christ, Rahab was the same prostitute lady that it was told by Joshua and many of the Israelites to put that red cloth in your window. And Rahab the prostitute,
we'll spare you.
Right, who was not an Israelite, right? She was from Jericho. So she was not an Israelite. She sold herself, sold her body, but God deals, he the way he works, he keeps bad company. He keeps bad company. There's a preacher, pastor, C.D. Brooks. He has a sermon called that, God Keeps Bad Company. Another one named Hosea's wife in the book of Hosea, right? She too is a prostitute. And God uses that visual. He uses that analogy to show what his people does, through Hosea's wife. But at the end, Hosea's wife is saved.
Amen.
So when you read through these stories, God is telling you that even though you were as bad as you were his company. He kept you right next to him the whole time. The same drug, I'm baffled. The same drug that all of your friends used, all of your friends, you were spared. The night your friend took that drug and did not wake up, that could have happened to you too. But you were spared.
So many times I bought the same sack the next person bought and they didn't wake up.
Right.
And I did.
And God just showed you. And the thing about it is, man, I have this thing right here called Prayer Changes Things. I can see that at that moment, it gives me chills. Because at that moment, while you were taking it, somebody's praying. Mm-hmm. Your mom is praying. right? At that very moment. And God is he sees you, but his hand is covering you. And that's amazing. That's an amazing story. Tell me now, what are you planning on doing? I know you're telling your story, but what are you doing now for younger people who are coming up behind you? Or anyone that's coming up behind you for that matter.
I'm teaching my kids about Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling this story. I hope that that I would love to tell this story to like high school kids, middle school kids.
Yes.
Because, it's a very interesting story. Like people are nosy. People love to oh, you did that, like I said. And, and the face tattoo, like everything I went through, like I'm relatable to certain people.
Yes.
They're going to listen to me. Like I just have such a crazy story. And sometimes I get asked, well, what advice do you have for younger people? Like Jesus. And it's never just a simple drug. It's like it's one time, and then your life, you wake up years later and you're like, what have I been doing? Like, it's just, I know, I pray that God will use me in the way that he sees fit.
Right.
And I keep sharing this story, and on the way here, I just kept praying, Lord, let somebody hear this, let somebody see this, and let it open another door for me to go other places and share it. I pray that every time, and, God always comes through. And, I drove an hour and 15 minutes to get here. If I touched one person's heart,
that's what matters.
Telling this story, then it was worth it.
Yes.
Like
and I'm glad you came up an hour and 15 minutes. And I'm not going to keep you any longer. But
no, I'm not complaining. I'm grateful that, because when I came to God, I had nothing. I didn't have a car. I didn't have my self-respect. I wasn't a good mom. And like now I'm driving an hour and 15 minutes to come and tell this story. Like that's powerful.
Right.
That's amazing. My mom used to not trust me with anything, and my car doesn't have a tag right now. I drove my mom's car up here because she trusts me. And, God is just working and moving in ways that I couldn't even explain. Like, you just think I was lying if I told you what all God has done for me. Like, people just wouldn't believe it.
Within a short span of time.
It hasn't even been a year.
Turned it around.
And when I'm telling you, God has turned everything around. And even things, sometimes, finding God doesn't instantly make everything better.
No.
I spent 14 years screwing up everything. My mind, my body, my self-respect, my finances, my mental health, like everything. 14 years, like I can't just expect God to just fix it. It's been, I don't know, like maybe almost 330 days since God, not since I've been sober, not since God.
God, right.
And I'm telling you, things have just been crazy. And there's been times where I've been upset, like, God, are you mad at me? Like, because I didn't feel like things were going the way I thought they should go. They're not happening quick enough. Me and my kids are in a camper right now. We had a single wide trailer, and I called it my trailer of terrors. I had been beat in that trailer. I had done any drug you can think of in that trailer. I had nodded off and burnt myself. I had prostituted, and God had given me peace about living there. But we moved into a camper. That trailer was torn down, and now we have a double wide modular home there. My grandmother and because I don't have money. I'm rich in the Lord, and that is it. And my dad and my grandmother, they helped me get it. Like, the church has been helping me work on it. And we've been in this camper for 5 months. It's not ideal. It's an older camper. It has a lot of problems. It has leaks. There was situations it's not, finding God isn't a fix all.
Right. No.
You got to give him time to work.
But he's done so much for you that, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You look back and you go, wow, I mean, I didn't have none of this. So, and then from there, it's just a constant build. He will continue to bless.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to ask, what are you doing now? Like, what keeps you going in terms of, work and?
a lot of times when I share this story, there'll be a love offering taken up, or if I share it with something like this, I'll put my Cash App tag at the bottom.
Perfect.
And just people, God speaks to you. God, when God tells you that he wants you to help bless somebody, you feel it. And this, I didn't come here for them. It's not about the money. Like, if I don't get $1 from coming here, like, God supplied my ride. My mom was like, I'd love to pay. I'll fill the car up. Like, I'm so blessed that I could come share this. But, God shows up and shows out when he needs to. Me touching people's hearts is, my financial, my job right now. Like, I told God I wanted to share this story anywhere I got the opportunity to go, I would go. If you would have been 3 hours away, I'd have been here. Like, I want, and like I said, even if I only touched one person, it was worth the drive. It was worth the time. I got to meet you and have a good conversation, and I love telling this story.
Yeah, I'm glad.
I love sharing the worst parts of my life, because if you don't hear the worst parts, that I was talking to walls, that I was prostituting, that I was shoving a needle in my arm daily, hourly, like, you're like, wow, really? Because so many times I've shared this story and they're like, you look so normal.
Right.
Because a lot of people, they, like you said, they got deep sores. You just tell
sunken and everything.
Been rode hard and put up wet, if that's not rude to say. Like, it's just how people look. And like, I have my front teeth and I look okay because God knew that people were going to listen to me more.
Down the road, you're going to be a speaker. Yeah. So he preserved you, but he did.
Because I shared at Southern Adventist University, and a lady came and sat in, and she that's what she does. She's like a drug and alcohol counselor, and she was just amazed at how I looked. She was like, 14 years. I was like, it's God. It wasn't nothing that I did.
With the highest level of drug.
Yeah.
And God preserved. Because, I mean,
it ain't nothing I did. No skincare routine, no moisturizer, not drinking water. Like, I was the worst and the hardest on myself.
And he still preserved.
And, I don't think I'm anything special, for sure. Like, I'm nobody. But, God knew that I would be doing this. And
You may not be a nobody to somebody, but to somebody you are an everybody. You may not feel that you are a somebody, but there is somebody who takes a nobody and makes that somebody so that everybody can see this new somebody.
That's a lot of bodies.
That's a lot of bodies. Man, Hillary, it was a pleasure speaking with you, hearing your story. And I wanted to take it from a different, because I listen to your stories in different ways, but I wanted to come a different way, right? And just kind of, just have this conversation. And I believe that we were able to accomplish that because you told your story a little bit different from from the churches that you spoke to, and you're giving your testimony. I wanted it to be more intimate, with a little bit more in-depth, in-depth drill down a little bit more to find out who and what you are and what you're all about, and then how God uses you today. So thank you.
Every time I share it, it's definitely a little different. I always ask God, anything I've forgotten to say in the past, like, reveal it to me. Let me say it this time. And this was, every time I share it, it's a blessing to me. It's just extra weight lifted off of.
And I got a lot. I mean, I can relate to you in some ways because, of course, I have a story too.
We all do.
But I just, I'm here smiling. I don't know if you noticed, but I've been, just smiling because
God is good.
Yeah.
God is so
I'm just
good.
looking at you and I'm just like, man, I mean, it's amazing how God preserves his children. We may go off the beaten path. We may go off some other way. And he is still, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death,
I will fear no evil.
I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. 2 angels, your rod and your staff. Those are the names of the angels. I say, Mr. Rod and Mr. Staff, they comfort me.
Well, and growing up the way I did and being an Adventist and just being in church, there were so many times where I would pray, God, don't let this strange man murder me. Don't let this stranger chop me up in pieces. Don't let him rape me and rob me. And
so you know who to turn to.
Yeah.
Even in your...
Even in my darkest, I would pray the most ridiculous things. Have you ever seen Forrest Gump?
Yes.
You know, when Lieutenant Dan, he's lost his legs and they're on the shrimp boat and it's storming and he's cussing at God.
That's what I got, yeah.
He's like, you call this a storm? This is all you've got. And then the next morning he has peace. God was just happy he was talking to him.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure he wasn't thrilled that he was cussing him, but he had his attention and we were talking. I was praying. I'd pray, God, don't let me wake up dope sick. God, don't let anybody rape me in my sleep. God, don't let nobody steal my money while I'm sleeping so I don't wake up dope sick. Like,
that's because you knew the connection. The same way Jacob was, the thief and the liar, he still prayed. And you knew, that's the thing. That's why God said, God has, you are so close to his heart. Because during those times, somebody else may not know who God is, but you know who your protector was. And you called upon him even in the midst of your darkness. You will call upon him and he will send Gabriel to be there. He will send, Christ is right there with you. Just to let you know, I'm here. No one's going to touch you. You're covered by my blood. And one day, 14 years later, you're going to be somebody.
Amen.
I'm going to make you strong to tell the story. To God be the glory. Thank you so much, Hillary.
Thank you for having me.